All right, guys. So CNN's fear-mongering medical correspondent, Miss Leana Wen, actually came out and said something that should be shocking to some, but not really all that shocking to me, because I basically predicted that this was going to happen, that Democrats and the mainstream media was going to do this U-turn when it came to the pandemic, as she basically has come out here and basically said that she kind of agrees with a lot of these states that are now lifting some of their mandates, specifically the mask mandate.
As you know, most states do not have mask mandates for schools. Have you seen evidence that these mask mandates have been necessary, that the spread and mortality rates in states where they didn't have mask mandates were far worse than in places where they did have mask mandates, like New Jersey?
Yeah, I mean, New Jersey is clearly the place I know the best, and God bless our precious kids no matter where they are. Please, God, they stay healthy and stay alive. There's no question that masking in our schools since the beginning of the school year has been a very smart public health step. I think we've had just over 2,600 cases of students with COVID positive since the beginning of the school year. That's out of 1.4 million kids. So it's a pretty stark piece of evidence, I think, that this has absolutely worked. But you got to meet the moment. You try always to not undershoot the moment and put lives at risk, or overshoot the moment and add more stress and mental health challenges to the system. And we think this plan of a month notice is going to get that as right as we can.
Now, before I get into this, I just want to let you guys know, if you want to support my channel, there's multiple ways to do so with the links in the description below. You can support the Patreon, you can support the merch, you can support the PayPal. There are multiple ways to support if you would like to support. And I also got to mention as well, too, I got to give my disclaimer here, because we're talking about the virus and the pandemic. You know, I'm not making claims about the virus. I'm not making claims about the vaccine. I'm not making claims about masks. I'm not making any claims about anything whatsoever. And I encourage each and every last one of you, if you have questions about the virus, the vaccine, the pandemic, masks, whatever, please consult your doctor. This video is about public policy and public policy only. Any claims made in this video has been made by CNN and their doctor, right? So if YouTube, you got a problem with it, take it up with them, right? I personally am not making any claims, okay? So with that being said, let's play this clip of Miss Leana Wen, who, again, historically for the last year has been fear-mongering everybody about the virus, has been advocating for insane restrictions, advocating for mandates, advocating for making the life of the unvaccinated as hard as possible, right? This person is now all of a sudden kind of agreeing with these states that are moving to lift their mandates. Take a look.
Do you agree with the move?
I do. There was and is a time and place for pandemic restrictions, but when they were put in, it was always with the understanding that they would be removed as soon as we can. And in this case, circumstances have changed. Case counts are declining. Also, the science has changed. We know that vaccines protect very well against Omicron, which is the dominant variant. Everyone 5 and older have widespread access to vaccines. And we also know about one-way masking, the idea that even if other people around you are not wearing masks, if you wear a high quality mask, that also protects you, the wearer, too. And so in this case, I'm not saying, I don't think anyone really is saying that no one should ever wear masks, but rather that the responsibility should shift from a government mandate imposed from the state or the local district of the school. Rather, it should shift to an individual responsibility by the family, who can still decide that their child can wear a mask if needed.
You know, take New Jersey, the case in New Jersey, for instance. Their new case average is just over 4,000. Is that an acceptable number to do this, or are they projecting out to March 7th at this point?
I don't think we should be looking at case counts at all at this point, especially when we're dealing with a milder variant and when so many people were exposed to Omicron and therefore have at least some level of protection either through vaccination or immunity. The key number that we should be looking at is hospitalizations. If our ICUs and hospitals in that particular region are not overwhelmed, if they're not over capacity, we can set a number, for example, 75% or 80% full, then we should be able to relax all restrictions restrictions. And I actually believe that we should be starting to, with the first restriction removed, should actually be the restriction on children.
All right, guys, so there you have it. You heard it out of CNN's top fear-mongering doctor's mouth, okay? The same person, again, that called for all types of restrictions, okay, all types of mandates, making the life of the unvaccinated so tough, okay? This is the same person that essentially is now saying that, hey, you know what? I kind of agree with these states that are lifting these restrictions, right? Because the science has changed according to her, right? Now, listen, I'm not going to say that the science hasn't changed because the science is always evolving, right? We're always learning new things, okay? But let's not sit here and act like this is not politically motivated, okay? That a lot of these people that go on TV and they say this stuff are not political actors. Because a few weeks ago, guys, at the beginning of January, you can go back and look, right? Specifically, my video about Rochelle Walensky in the CDC now coming out with new data about who's actually dying from COVID versus with COVID, okay? And who's hospitalized from COVID / with COVID. I said in that video, I said, I think that the narrative on this virus is about to change. It's going to change, okay? And the reason why it's going to change is because these Democrats specifically ran on the idea. They literally ran against Trump on the idea that, hey, we're going to shut down the virus, okay? That Trump was so irresponsible. And the reason why the virus is spreading and that we're in this pandemic is because of Trump, okay? Now, lo and behold, 1 year, right? A little bit over a year into the Biden administration and the Democrats having a majority in the House, in the Senate, okay? Winning some of their local elections, right? 1 year into that, okay? Look where we're at, right? Look where we're at. We're still in the midst of this pandemic, okay? It's almost like they realize that, okay, this is just something that we're probably going to have to live with more than likely, okay? We're probably going to have to live with it, okay? And again, the problem here for the Democrats is that you promise people, right? They promise people that, hey, you know, if you just get vaccinated, you know, hey, you can live a normal life. But they've been telling people for the past few months, even those who are vaccinated, you can't live a normal life. You still got to wear masks. You still got to do this. You still got to do that. And people like Bill Maher, prominent liberals, right, reasonable liberals, Barry Weiss, have come out and exposed the Democrats on this. They're like, look, why in the world does vaccinated and boosted people, you told us we need to get this and we get this, why in the world do we got to continue to live under restrictions, right? What is the point, right? So Democrats have realized that this stuff is unpopular, right? These restrictions are unpopular. People are tired of it. There is fatigue from this stuff going on here, okay? And there's a midterm election coming up, right? There's a midterm election coming up. And because they know this stuff is unpopular and because the midterms are coming up, this is why you're seeing all of a sudden these states are like, let's, you know, ease some of these restrictions. Look at what happened overseas, right? You see all these countries, the UK, they basically got rid of all their restrictions for the most part. Okay, well, why did they do that? Because allegedly Boris Johnson was facing some backlash. Okay, he was facing some backlash, right? Again, when it comes to these people having to keep their jobs, all of a sudden they're going to do what people want them to do, right? But before all this, they told you that anybody that said the same things that doctor said, that right then, they said, oh, no, you're anti-vaxxer. You're anti-science, right? You're a bigot. You out here killing folks, right? That's what they would say. But now all of a sudden, I'm not hearing that when the Democrats are now talking about how, okay, well, maybe we don't need these restrictions. Are y'all killing people? Right? Are you being irresponsible? The same thing they basically ran a whole campaign against Trump with. They're now doing the exact same thing when they're like, you know what? Maybe we don't need these restrictions, right? That doctor, in my opinion, sounds a whole lot like the doctors that social media and the Democrats and mainstream media had told us, hey, you shouldn't listen to that guy. That guy's a quack, right? That guy's a quack, okay? Ain't it funny how that works? When the Democrats and their jobs are on the line, all of a sudden you see them do what the American people probably want them to do, right? But they'll tell you the whole time, no, the American people don't want that. The American people want to live on these lockdowns and restrictions forever. That's what they'll tell you. And the reason how you know that that's BS is because, again, when it comes time for them to get elected, all of a sudden they're like, maybe we shouldn't have these mask mandates in school. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we shouldn't have, these mask mandates in general. it's an individual responsibility now, right? It's up to the individual. You can decide what's best for your health. You don't need the government to do that for you. It's up to the individual. Again, they sound like anti-mask conservatives, right? They sound like Republicans. Okay, that's what they starting to sound like. That tells you all you need to know about what these politicians know about how the American people actually feel. When their jobs are on the line, they start to enact policies that essentially is going to try to make them look good, right? That's what they do, okay? That's what they do. So again, guys, like I said, I predicted this weeks ago. I was like, yeah, I think that we're gonna see the narrative change. The way they're gonna talk about this is gonna be different. They're gonna stop talking about case counts. They're gonna talk about deaths of people that actually died from the virus, not just with the virus. Okay, they're gonna talk about hospitalizations of people that are hospital because of the virus, not just with the virus. They're gonna start to get very specific. They're gonna use that to justify, okay, well, we've made progress on the virus, right? We made progress on the pandemic. See, look what we did. We're lifting restrictions. Right? That's what's happening. Because again, just a few weeks ago, because of how much Omicron was spreading, they was making the arguments that we have to keep restrictions in place because of how much it's spreading. Now, all of a sudden, this doctor is making an argument that, well, because of Omicron, even though it spread so much, because it's, a milder version, oh, well, I'm not necessarily sure we need the restrictions. It's crazy. It's insane, right? It's absolutely insane. But hey, like I said, this was very, very, very predictable. This is what happens when the Democrats and their jobs are on the line. All of a sudden, you see an about face, and that's what's going on here. Okay, it's happening because there's an election season coming up, and people know how unpopular a lot of these mandates and restrictions are. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.